Hey, I didn't know we had big news with the treasurer, but we do.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
How's your summer going? Good. How's your summer going? Did you get away? Yeah, I get away. Did you get away? Did you do anything? Yeah. Oh, I get married. What? I just had a casual conversation with the state treasurer, a little kibitzing, and yeah, I got married. So we'll formally congratulate him in just a moment. Welcome in. Hey, just this weekend. Okay. That leads me to think on the radio program, we have to have some good conversations about the intensity of weddings. To be honest with you, I slipped mine in at the end of 2000, somewhat on deadline. So I don't know if the treasurer was on deadline, but I can kind of relate to, hey, yeah, just got married. 27 years later, it worked out just fine. Welcome aboard. We've got financial literacy issues. We've got a pretty good pension return right now. The market's doing well. We'll see what the treasurer's doing to, finagle and manage that whole thing. We also have serious conversations about financing for the PawSox and the St. Joe's Hospital lesson, if there's anything to be learned there, all on the table tonight. In the meantime, I just have to show the president's tweets. This is another mind loser. I don't know where he goes to get this stuff, but all out of nowhere, after a little rally last night, he rates FBI agent Peter Strzok should have recused himself on day one. He was out to stop the election of Donald Trump. He needed an insurance policy. Those are illegal, improper goals trying to influence the election. He should never, ever be allowed to remain in the FBI while he was himself being investigated. This is a real issue. It won't go into a Mueller report because Mueller's going to protect these guys. It is amazing what kind of paranoia this president has developed over the situation. And then he writes, this is a terrible situation. Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now before it continues to stain our country any further. Bob Mueller is totally conflicted, and his 17 angry Democrats that are doing his dirty work are a disgrace to the USA. It used to be, with the former press secretary, that Twitter was a formal statement of the White House. Now the lawyers, Giuliani et al., are saying that this is just the president blowing off some steam. If he blows up Jeff Sessions, all heck's going to break loose. He knows it, can't do it, and so I guess social media is there for him to cry like a baby. Well, somebody ought to give him his baba so he can pretend like he's the president of the United States here. Just behavior that is, well, it's uncanny, and it never stops. But it certainly does set up a public debate over potential impeachment, if that ever comes to bear, because that's a political process for the most part, sans an indictment from Bob Mueller. All righty. Let's start with some good news here. The 8% return on our dough in the investment accounts managed by the state treasurer is something that I think we could all cheer. It's also a good headline in an election season, no doubt. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to be back.
So just this weekend, you just decided it was a little quick, marriage?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of planning involved, but yeah, no, we got married on Saturday.
How did you keep that? Unless I haven't been reading the society pages, I didn't realize that you had formally tied the knot with your former fiancée, Julia. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's not a secret. We weren't, trying to keep it under wraps or anything, but we're excited. We're happy, and now it's back to work.
You get away?
No. We took a couple days off, but I was back in the office Tuesday morning, and we'll maybe do something at the end of the year, but we don't have anything planned yet.
Well, we are in campaign season. Mike Riley is the Republican running for treasurer. We can talk about the politics of this a little bit later on. Reportedly, you've amassed some $600,000+ in your campaign account. This on paper at least looks like somewhat of a no-brainer, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. The pension return, talk to me about that. What have you done differently than Gina Raimondo did?
So we have been on a good run lately. 2 years ago, I launched what we call the Back to Basics investment strategy for the pension fund. We shifted away from some of the hedge funds that I had inherited back to a more traditional investment strategy, and it's worked. Since we've launched Back to Basics, we've earned more than $1 billion for the pension fund. We just beat our investment target for the second year in a row, so both years since Back to Basics went into effect, we've beaten our goal. And not only that, our performance compared to other state pension funds is improving. So on a relative basis compared to other funds, we've been moving up as well. So the results have been good.
What do you mean
pension
other
fund is getting
state?
stronger.
What do you mean by other state pension fund? You mean competitive states?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
we look at
Not intra. I mean, you're talking about other states.
Yeah,
other than that.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we look at how we perform compared to our peers, and that's improving. And it's important because
Improving to a place of competitiveness. Fill me in on that.
Yeah.
You know, how are our neighbors
so
doing?
you know, in the past, Rhode Island was sort of near the bottom of the barrel in terms of performance on the pension investments compared to other state pension plans. We've been working our way up. We're now right about at the median and trending in the right direction. So this is all good news for people because Rhode Islanders who spend their lives as teachers, as first responders, serving the community deserve to have retirement security, and taxpayers have an interest in having a healthy pension system as well because taxpayers fund it. So it's good news. You know, since we launched Back to Basics, performance has been good. We're making money. The system is healthier today than it's been in a long time.
What other than the move from the hedge to the Back to Basics? Well, why don't you dig in on that for me a little bit? What was the philosophy and what does Back to Basics mean? And is there a recommendation you have for the average investor that that can be learned from this, or is this portfolio so big and so different than the individual portfolio that they don't? Yeah. It's apples and oranges.
That's a good question. So Back to Basics is exactly what it sounds like. We moved more than $500 million out of hedge funds because in most cases we felt that the hedge funds that we were in weren't performing well enough to justify the high fees that we were paying them. Most of the pension fund now is invested in more traditional strategies, index funds, different kinds of bond funds, some real estate and some other things, but a more traditional asset allocation, and it's working. I don't give financial advice to individuals. I say, you know, the best thing that you can do as an individual is go talk to your financial planner, because every individual has different goals. But, you know, when it comes to the pension fund, the moves that we made are working.
8% return, you know, for a fund this large is impressive. Others, you know, individuals, year-to-dates are higher because it can be more specifically managed. The risk can be managed a little bit differently. What does your gut tell you about what 19, 20, 21 look like here? Yeah,
so I should say at the outset, we're not market timers. It's not our job at the pension fund to try to predict, is the market going to go up or down tomorrow? We've tried to build an asset allocation that will provide a strong risk-adjusted return across a full market cycle. So
which is defined as?
So a market cycle would be, you know, a peak and a valley and a rebound, right? So, you know, you have a business cycle that traditionally in the United States, every, you know, 7 to 10 years, call it, you have a recession and then a recovery. Our job, we don't believe, is to try to time those things. Our job is to build a portfolio that will grow and provide stability through a full cycle. So a majority of the pension fund right now is invested in growth assets, primarily index funds that will earn a return when the market is good. But we also keep a portion of the portfolio in more defensive assets because we know it's not going to last forever.
Tell me about the pension health of the state overall. We've talked about this before. I mean, there are municipal pensions that are just in really bad shape here. Is it time to start a major overhaul of the situation and to start dumping these muni pensions? I mean, you have to take a look at the MERS programs and everything else. I mean, we have municipal pensions managed by you in the state, but it's
that are doing well.
You got to look up who's got what, where, and how. But I mean, we got major metropolitan places here that are really upside down. Is it time to just kind of cut our losses and see if this can't be built into another fund or merged?
Well, I do believe that some of the municipal plans should look at handing over their management to the state. It doesn't make sense, especially in a state as small as Rhode Island. Well, I think everybody's got to look at it. So taking a step back, there are about 140 municipal pension plans in Rhode Island. 100 of them are managed by the state, by our office, and those 100 are doing well. On average, they're about 80% funded. They're doing okay.
That's a target number.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, the rule of thumb is if you're 80% funded, you're doing pretty well. There's about 40 that are still run directly by the cities and towns, and that's where some of the ones that are in really bad shape.
But they're big numbers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
huge
big
numbers.
Unfunded liabilities. They pay high fees because they're not aggregated together. They don't have good economies of scale. So I put in legislation the last 2 years to make it easier to merge those local plans with the state system, to bring those local plans under state management. And that would do a few things. It would help with fees and expenses because you have economies of scale.
It hasn't been passed yet.
No, we haven't been able to get it passed through the legislature, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. You know, we've gotten a lot of support for it. We've gotten support actually even from some of the unions, but also from you know, the business groups, the think tanks, the RIPECs of the world. The Providence Journal is editorialized for it. It makes sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't,
so
you know,
something's going to have to be done sooner or later before this whole bomb
gonna,
explodes. What about, do you have a thought on the OPEB, on the health care deficits that are as bad or worse than the pension numbers?
So at the state level, the OPEB liability is actually manageable. So at the state level, Rhode Island's OPEB liability is lower than the national average, and we're pre-funding, we're fully meeting our ARC payments. Like, we're doing okay at the state level when it comes to
some
OPEB.
of the cities are
completely
and towns, underneath.
Correct, yeah, that's a big problem. And look, at the end of the day, I think for some of the cities and towns, there's no getting around the fact that they're going to have to go back to the bargaining table and they're going to have to negotiate a new structure for their OPEB, and in some cases for their pension too. Because this is the biggest financial challenge that the state is facing: municipal pensions, municipal OPEB. I think our role in the Treasurer's Office is to shine a light on what's going on. We have published report cards on the health of every municipal pension plan to show how bad it is. And I do think that ultimately some of these cities and towns shouldn't be managing their own plans anymore because they don't have the wherewithal to do it.
By the way, the acronym OPEB means other post-employment benefits, basically the health care plans. And when we come back, we'll talk about the St. Joe's dilemma and the PawSox financing and financial literacy. Stay with us.
These are people who are literally at the bedside taking care of the most vulnerable.
This St. Joseph's Pension Fund situation, there's nothing you can do about it specifically, but you do want to start talking about pension plan transparency for these religious organizations in the future.
There are things that should be
going
done
forward.
Yeah,
right?
no, there absolutely are things that should be done. So this is a real tragedy. These are nurses, these are janitors, these are administrators, these are people who have cared for some of the most needy people in our state. And they're having the rug pulled out from under them. And the worst part is they had no way of knowing that there was even a problem until it was too late to do anything about it. Because unlike state pension plans, unlike corporate pension plans, pension plans that claim a religious exemption don't have to report anything. They don't have to say what their financial condition is.
You want to change that?
To the public or to their members. Yeah, I do. And so, especially when word started getting around that there might be another church plan in Rhode Island that's also in trouble. Now, that's not confirmed, but there are rumors of that. We said that enough's enough. Enough's enough. When the General Assembly comes back, I am going to request legislation that says all pension plans, including the religious plans, need to be transparent about their financial condition, because everybody who's in a pension plan deserves to know whether that plan is healthy or not.
So only the religious organizations are exempt from reporting?
Correct.
All private corporate pension plans have a reporting obligation, all of them?
That's right. So the corporate plans are covered under a federal law called ERISA that says that every year they have to send their members a letter outlining the financial condition of the plan. State and municipal pension plans are a little different, but we still have to publish our audited financial statements every year. Church plans don't have to publish anything.
Do we have comparable?
So people don't know.
Do we have comparable demand for private organizations like churches, like the diocese in other states? Or are you trying to write something that's unprecedented, or is this something that has been done and successful at somewhere else?
I'm not aware of this being done in another state, but that doesn't mean it's not something that should be done. You know, the people, again, you look at those nurses, they had no way of knowing that there was even a problem. They were making life decisions, career decisions.
But you have
and
no
they had
role.
a right to know.
You have no specific role
My role
in this
is
particular dilemma, correct?
My role is to be an advocate for people who are getting hurt and to, propose a solution for how we help avoid it in the future.
Well, you've also been an analyst and offered, I think, some consultative advice on the PawSox situation.
Yeah.
I have learned through some recent intel work that this thing is bottom of the ninth. Pawtucket is down a few runs, and they got the 7, 8, 9 header coming up in the bottom of the ninth, meaning Worcester is, pretty much in the catbird seat here with a much cleaner and less expensive deal for the PawSox, let alone that building you see there. The Apex building is not yet consummated on a transaction. You took a look at the House plan, right? You did analysis of the Senate plan, which I thought was transparent about everyone's piece of the action.
Yeah.
The House plan, I think, is highly irresponsible, a complete political switch pitch, completely bogus over the idea that taxpayers eventually won't be responsible if the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency has trouble. What was your take, and what is your take on the House plan and the expense of the House plan?
Yeah. So first, I hope they stay. I hope they stay.
Well, duh.
And yeah, I mean, for all the reasons we've talked about on this show before, it's good for quality of life. It'll be good for downtown Pawtucket. We hope they stay. I was also supportive of the Senate plan. I thought it was a good plan. I testified in favor of it. Look, the House plan can still work. It can still work if the team is willing to accept it. It's, yes, a more expensive plan to the taxpayers than the Senate plan was, but it can still work.
Well, yeah, wait a second. The Speaker of the House would stand on his head over that. He would say there's no expense to the taxpayers and no risk to the taxpayers. It's more expensive to whoever's footing the bill.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, he would certainly say that there's no risk to the taxpayers, and I agree that under the House version there is less downside risk if the team were to fail.
Treasurer, if the Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency ends up going belly up on this thing, and they say to the state, hey, listen, man, we can't even get a gas station to come in here now, the state of Rhode Island is not going to leave the city of Pawtucket hanging.
Well,
so while the transaction may not specify state backup, there's no way that we're going to let the city of Pawtucket go under.
I agree with part of what you've said. So I agree that the bond under the House bill would be more expensive than under the Senate bill. But I actually disagree about the risk piece because there are examples of revenue bonds, TIF bonds failing elsewhere where there was no impact on the city's credit rating or the state's credit rating. I don't know that the state would step in or would need to step in if a House version bond were to fail. That being said, look, is it more expensive? Yes. It is what it is. The important thing now is we have to try to make this work. This was the version that passed. We have to try to make it work. And I think we've got to make a pitch to the team that says, look, even with the complications of the House plan, it's still in your interest to stay in Rhode Island because there's going to be a lot of friction and a lot of cost associated with moving, right? You're going to have a few years. If you did move to Worcester, you're going to have years at the old McCoy Stadium where it's just going to be dead. 2. Right? And then even in Worcester,
if they don't move the Holy Cross and say, screw it, take the hit.
Well, you got a smaller metropolitan area that you're drawing off of. You've, got to sort of build from scratch. So I think we've got to do our best.
That I think is, listen, I appreciate your cheerleading. This is not your project. You've never taken ownership of this, and it's not your role. So I'm not going to confront you directly on this. But that's bunk about the market. The market is ripe. The city is moving. Western Massachusetts is a feeder market. It's 40 miles from the city of Boston. There'll be plenty of Massachusetts Pawtucket goers who will go to Worcester. They've got a great deal up there, and this state screwed the pooch in this particular deal, fighting on it, fighting amongst itself, and not providing the right kind of leadership on this.
Bottom line, the PawSox belong in Rhode Island. We want them to stay. We hope they stay.
Bottom line, we want them to feel like they belong. But you know what? When I hear officials of that organization tell me that the synergy of government in Massachusetts versus that in Rhode Island is so dramatically different, that the long-term gain from a short-term hit, 2 years of transition, is worth the aggravation. We'll see.
Well, bottom line, we want them here. I agree with you. We should have passed the Senate bill right away, but we are where we are, and I think we can still make it work if we make the right pitch.
It is what it is. When we come back, how smart are we about money in the schools? Next. Listen, one thing I won't argue with the Treasurer about is the need to really examine the financial literacy and beginning in the schools. I have spoken, I'm sure you have countless times, I've spoken to high school and college classes. Yeah. Talked about life in general and talked about what they want to do for a living and how much money do you think you're going to make? Oh, well, they take a guess. And what they think they're going to get from the money they're going to make. It is amazing that we're issuing high school diplomas and college degrees to kids who have no idea what the real world financial challenge is going to be. Yeah. So you're looking to do something in the schools beginning at what level?
First of all, you're absolutely right. Financial education is not a nice to have, it's a need to have. It's a must have these days because these young people are coming out of school and right away the credit card companies are after them. The payday lenders are after them.
Without a doubt.
And having the knowledge to make good financial decisions and avoid those bad actors is crucial because if you fall into a trap at a young age, it's very, very hard to get out. So there are some good things happening with financial education in the schools and around. There's some very good teachers. There's a few school districts that have made it a requirement to do personal finance. But by and large, as a state, we are not where we should be. According to the Council for Economic Education, we're 42nd in the country when it comes to financial education in our K through 12 schools. So we got to step up. We got to do something here. So this summer, I've been meeting with a number of different stakeholders, educators, business groups, national experts, to develop a plan for expanding financial education in Rhode Island. I expect that we will have some sort of a plan framework by the fall. And it won't just be about the goal of where do we want to be, it'll also be specific. How do we get there? How do we get the teachers the training they need, the materials they need, the resources, that sort of thing? Because it's time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I don't know how you're going to do it, so I appreciate you studying how you're going to do it. We don't have teachers who can pass math quizzes that are teaching math right now, and I'm not beating up on teachers, it's just the data proves it. So this burden is got to be some kind of specialization, and so but the spirit, the core of this, I'm with you 100%. Yeah. This needs to be done. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long we'll still be writing checks, right? But most kids don't know how to do it. Yeah. They don't know that bombardment right after school with credit cards is incredible. The amount of money they need to make, the difference between gross and net earnings, how to have, rent, car, this, that. Oh, and I think I'm going to go out every Saturday night. I don't know. I don't think so.
Managing a credit score. I mean, that's a big one. I mean, and so, now the good news is, the more we look at this, there are a lot of resources out there, right? There are a lot of philanthropic resources that are supporting financial education.
So you may have a private-public partnership.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there's materials out there for teachers. There's a lot.
All right. Election season. Mike Riley is the Republican. He did get his paperwork in, right? We haven't heard anything from him. If he wants to chirp at you here, will you show up for a conversation in the fall?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to minimize Mike Riley's candidacy, but, we really haven't heard much from him. Other than that, it seems like pretty much a walk in the park in this election season. But you never take it for granted, right? Blah, 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 blah,
I work hard. I do. I love the job. I love that I get to go to work every day and help people, help Rhode Islanders. So I hope to continue to do it.
Well, I think you've been doing a pretty good job, so thanks for the effort. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Final word and we come back. Stay with us. All right, 'tis the season where we start to sniff around at polling data and who's doing what where, a lot of reports on fundraising, and so we'll check in with Joe Fleming of Fleming, what's Joe's real, Fleming Associates. He's the lead pollster in the state and Eyewitness News partner and all-around great guy. He'll be here tomorrow to talk about that stuff. See you on the radio at 3 on WPRO. I'm honored that you tune in. Thanks.